So now it'll flow better. So anyways, eye alignment's a way to help you understand the fight through time and positioning, which in return can help you control the fight. It should be used in combination with your fencing knowledge and the rules of combat you guys already know. Okay? It helps you know where and how to step, which tells you which hand will get there faster based on where your feet are. That in return helps you gain and maintain the position and angle you want with the enemy. This in return helps you know how to stop the enemy from gaining an advantageous angle on team. It also stops you from using unnecessary tempos or creating openings because now you're stepping with purpose. So eye alignment really helps you know how to step. Okay, combining all of these is what helps you minimize other fighters' strengths and exploit their weaknesses while maximizing your own strengths and minimizing your own weaknesses. This is what's called a superior angle. A superior angle is where the enemy has to attack into your strengths and you're attacking into their weaknesses. If it's only one of those two, it's just an advantageous angle, but a lot of times that's all you can get and it's good enough. Okay, so an advantageous angle is pretty much just the angle that gives you the highest success rate for your goal, versus superior angle is the angle which gives you the highest success rate for your goal and the lowest for the enemy. Okay, that's a really important distinction of these two, but we'll cover more of that later. Eye alignment is a win-win because A, I get there faster if they don't step, or B, if they do step away, I get there at the same time, and C, if they step into it, I get there extra fast. So what this looks like...
Want me to grab my sword?
Nope.
Okay.
So I'm going to do this with a kick, actually. So if I'm, come this way. If I'm using eye alignment for my kicks, right, and say I want to keep right eye alignment, or say, we'll say even equal eye alignment, okay? If I throw a kick in equal eye alignment, and I switch over to right eye alignment, and he does nothing, then boom, I got there even faster, because I moved my body with my kick, right? If I use the same eye alignment and step to the side, and he steps to the side as I kick, then my kick still lands, okay? Versus if I don't do that eye alignment change on my attack to get there faster and he steps to the side, then now my kick is weak, right? Now, if we're equal eye alignment and I take that angle change and he steps this way or into me, then it's just going to get there even faster. Okay, so eye alignment is really just a win-win situation. It's either I get there faster, I get there at the same time, or I get there extra fast. Does that make sense? This is why when we attack, we change our eye alignment. It also adds power to it. So in the end, to sum it up, it helps you influence time. It saves you time and it makes the enemy use more time. You can use eye alignment to save times on parries, gains, and attack. Okay, and we've just shown that. Now the important thing to remember though, is the one thing that trumps eye alignment is to parry with your closest prepared weapon. So now grab your weapons.
Yeah.
So, for example, if I'm right eye aligned, okay, we've covered this before, that when I'm right eye aligned, my right hand can get to his right hand quickly, right? Or my right sword can get to his right sword, either for taking his weapon or if he attacks me for parrying. It's going to be faster than my dagger because this dagger has to travel across my body, right? And to take his weapon, my dagger also has to travel across at this angled path versus it's faster with the sword. Especially in this situation because the sword is also longer, which is something to consider, right? Now when we have equal eye alignment, my dagger has the straight path to his sword. So my dagger's going to get there faster because my sword has to travel across my body, right? Now left eye alignment, in order to take his weapon with my sword, I have to go across my body and across his, which is a lot of time, so the dagger ends up being faster. Okay, but this leads us to an important point about eye alignment. We have eye alignment of body, so I'm left eye aligned, or I'm equal eye aligned, or I'm right eye aligned. Another way to think about eye alignment of body is lead foot to lead foot, okay, or sword to sword, lead foot to rear foot, dagger to sword, rear foot to rear foot, dagger to dagger. Now, this is for our eye alignment of body, and we also have eye alignment of weapons. So what I mean by this is logically we could go, okay, right now I have to travel all the way across my body and all the way across his body to get to his sword. There's a lot of distance. But if I then put my sword in left eye alignment, now my sword can get there quickly, just like my dagger can. The only difference is my dagger can move out further than my sword can because my sword is impinged by my body. Okay? So a lot of times when you are using eye alignment, I like to line my weapons up on the same eye alignment to lock out that entire side. So when I'm right eye alignment, a lot of times I'm here and I'm locking out both sides because now I can parry with my dagger pretty quick, right? Almost as quick as my sword, okay? But when it comes to that rule that we're talking about that trumps eye alignment, which is parry with the close prepared weapon, if my dagger is over here, because a lot of people, they only keep that one static guard. And this is why eye alignment counters so many static guards, okay, where they're not adapting their guards. Say, for example, people that fight here. Now, if he attacks towards the shoulder and I always cross parry, I have to go all the way across my body to parry, okay? Versus if I was equal eye alignment and now he attacked the center, now this is good because I can get there pretty quick, right? But what happens if he feints me, okay? So if he feints my side, that is my sword side, that I should be parrying with my sword side because it's right eye alignment, say he feints my sword out of the way, okay? Boom, and I respond and my sword is out of the way. So what this means is my closest weapon is no longer prepared to defend because it's in movement. So now this is the closer prepared weapon, so I would actually parry with my dagger. So if he feinted my sword to the outside and then came to the inside, now I would parry with the dagger, even though I'm right eye line, because that's the closest prepared weapon. Okay, does that make sense? Okay. So we also have 4 stages of eye alignment, right? We have the eye alignment of safety, where if our eyes are lined up, okay, and I want to be in the area that keeps me safe, which is the area of my best parry, okay? So, because defensively, I want him to attack my best parry. If I'm better with my sword than he is, or my sword is my better parry, then I'm going to keep right eye aligned. But when I want to deal with the threat, I'm going to change my eye alignment to make it quicker. Say I want to deal with his sword with my dagger, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to step to equal eye alignment, because now it's the speed of my hand plus the speed of my body, which is 2 proportionate points, to make it faster. Okay? So I keep that eye alignment of safety. I figure out, do I want to deal with the set threat with my sword or my dagger? I want to do it with my dagger in this case, so I step to equal eye alignment. As I'm in equal eye alignment, I think to myself, what one of his weapons has a close route to mine now that I'm equal eye alignment, which is his dagger. So I know that his dagger is a danger, so I'm going to step to the eye alignment that makes his defense have to travel further to stop it, or to push it across his body, which in this case would be back to right eye alignment, because now he's pushing it across his body and I can hit him, okay? Then I'm going to get back to my eye alignment of safety of where I want to be. So you essentially have 4 angles in the fight on which you always have to make a decision on whether or not you need to change the angle, okay? Defensively, when you're not engaging, right? When you're taking their weapon, when you're going to hit them and avoid their defense, and then after you hit them. Okay, these are our 4 stages that we would be changing our eye alignment. Okay, now eye alignment is really easy to maintain. You don't have to think about anything, so let's cover how do we maintain this eye alignment, okay? If my right eye is lined up with his right eye, I'm going to mirror his steps. I am not going to counter step. This is very important. Most people counter step. Most people, if I step left, they go that way, okay? Which is not good, because now there's a new angle. Or, for example, if I'm right eye aligned, and I step to the right, and he steps to the left. Now he is getting closer to a different weapon, okay? He's getting farther from one, but he's getting closer to another. What this means is your brain has to process a change that just happened of what you need to defend, because your targets are now different on both people. So there's distance that change that your brain needs to process on now. Do I need to defend right here from the left hand, or do I still defend from the right hand? Okay, which can lead to decision making that can happen really quick. Versus if I'm right eye aligned and I step this way, he would step the same way, because now there's no angle that has changed. If I go right, then he goes left. If I go back, he goes forward. This way, no distance is changing unless it's on his turn. Now, the important thing about eye alignment, we can sit here and do this all day while talking because it's just that easy, okay? The important thing about eye alignment is he does not want to step after me. If I step and then he steps, I can hit him in tempo. The other good thing about eye alignment is it really shows you their tells, because you get so used to mirroring their steps that you can tell as soon as they go to start a movement or an attack, and then can react even faster. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're just going to keep that right eye alignment. We're going to pair up. And we're just going to do a couple step mirroring. Okay? Boom, boom, boom. Get that feel for it. And then we're going to move on because we've done this before. Okay? So some other things to cover eye alignment because this helps you in all the martial arts. Like I said before, it helps you know what to do with, go ahead and put your weapon down. It helps you know what to do with your hands based on where your feet are. Or go ahead and sit yours down. Or where you want your feet to be to hit them with something certain on your hands. Okay, the reason why this works for every martial art, yep, so you're going to posture up, okay? In this case, we're both just being southpaw, right? If he has a really strong cross, okay, and I have a really good jab, I would not want to be in equal eye alignment because, like I had said before, this hand has that quick route, and that one has a little bit further, okay? So if his best punch is his cross, and my best punch is my jab, this isn't necessarily great for me. We're kind of equaled out here because in equal eye alignment, both hands can get there pretty quick, so it's more of a kind of an equal and chaotic zone. But it would be even better for me if I was right eye alignment, because now my jab has a really quick route to him, and his cross has to travel all the way across his body to try and hit me. Now where I really don't want to be would be left eye alignment, because now my jab has to travel all the way across my body, and his cross has the straight path, okay? So when we know someone's best punch or best parry or best attack, we simply use eye alignment to position ourselves in a way that that is going to have to travel the furthest distance, okay? So we know, depending on what I want to do with my hands, tells me which position I need to be in. Whether if I want to use my lead hand, I'm in right eye alignment, right? If he's throwing punches at me with his lead hand, and I'm in right eye alignment, I'm parrying with my lead hand. Even if he's throwing punches with his backhand, I'm still parrying with my lead hand because it's faster. When I'm equal eye alignment, things can change in boxing because you have both hands. If he punches with his lead hand, now I want to parry with my backhand. If he punches with his backhand, now I want to parry with my lead hand. Okay, when I'm left eye alignment and he punches with his backhand, parry with my backhand. When he punches with his lead hand, parry with my lead hand. Because it's what's there faster and you can stop the attack faster. Now some people like to wait till the last moment to parry because it gets the opponent to overcommit. I don't like this as much because it sets people up for a feint. They can be more easily feinted. I like to, if he throws, to kind of stuff the attack as soon as I can to gain control as soon as I can because he's still stuck in tempo and I can still maneuver this, okay? So based on where we are with our feet tells us logically what we're going to do with our hands. Does that make sense? So no matter which weapon we're using, eye alignment is going to be an advantage for us. So let's cover how we also have the extreme. So we have right eye. You also have right eye extreme, which is more like my eye to his ear. The thing is whenever we're gaining these angles or using angles, it's only like an eye alignment length. I don't need to be like way over here, like cool if I can get over here, like cool, you know, but you don't need that. The bigger steps you take on these angles, the more time that you can get hit. The way that I like to do this is if I'm equal eye aligned, okay, if I'm struggling thinking about it going right eye and I'm like going way over here, then look at your feet.
Yeah.
See if your feet are in line. If you need to, the reason why I don't do it as foot alignment is because people start looking down. And they start looking at the feet too much. Versus keeping that forward gaze, and it helps you use your peripherals when you do the eye alignment. When I'm equal eye alignment, I'm just going to think about stepping my foot. If I'm going for a right eye alignment sword game, I'm going to think about stepping my foot to being right in front of his, okay? So I'm just going to go here, and then forward, okay? And it's nice and fast, okay? So I'm here, here, and then in, okay? So don't go here because it's also exposing your back. Instead, it's just nice and small. Here, my feet are lined up. Move it, okay? So if you need to think about it the foot way, that's okay too. Let's cover some other things to know about some of the differences of equal eye alignment and right eye and left eye. The guard they're in does affect this. For example, if he is in low guard and I'm in a mid guard and we're equal eye alignment, okay? Normally if we're both in mid guard and we're in equal eye alignment, he's in mid guard too, right? we both have an equal advantage here. We can both take each other's daggers and swords at the same time, so we would parry with that dagger, right? Because that dagger has that straight and quick path. Now, if I'm in a low guard and he's in a mid guard, okay? Now, what actually happens is I have an advantage here. The reason is I have a straight route to taking his sword, and his dagger does not have a straight route to taking my sword. So whenever you're in equal eye alignment, you need to be careful. Back to normal stance. Okay, whenever you're in equal eye alignment, you need to be careful because the person in low guard does have an advantage in equal eye alignment. Okay? Now, if someone's in a low guard and you're in right eye alignment, okay, this is going to affect that parry time and stuff as well. Where now it's like which one has the straighter path. Okay? Same with left eye alignment if we're in low guard, which one has that straighter path affects it. Okay? So right now, left eye alignment, if my sword's in low guard and his sword's in mid guard, my dagger has the faster path. So the guard you're in does affect your eye alignment. Okay? Now for that take, if we are doing equal eye alignment and he's in low guard and I'm moving to right eye, then it's here. Just like that. And you would be going in. Okay? Alright, so let's cover a couple extra things to note. Some things about left eye alignment. Okay? When we're in left eye alignment, this can also, what we want to do can also depend on whether we're parrying or taking with our blade or our hand. Okay, both these would be taken into consideration. This is because if we're left eye alignment, parrying with our dagger makes sense because they're coming to us, traveling across their own body. Okay, taking a lot of time, and this is the closest thing to parry. Now, when it comes to taking our sword with their dagger versus our sword, one of the things to consider, especially if he's the type of person that keeps a static guard, is when I reach out with my left, I am also exposing my body underneath, okay? So we risk opening up our center, and we have to travel past their dagger. Even if we're doing sword to sword, we still have to travel across their dagger when we're in left eye alignment to take their sword, okay? But the good thing about left eye alignment is it's a great defensive place to move after we attacked. For example, say I attack and then I move to left eye alignment, I'm getting my body out the way and he has two weapons to go through, and I have more of his body to attack. The thing about angles and eye alignment that's really important is depending on the angle I step, sometimes will give me more targets on his body or less, but they also change what he is defending his body with. So for example, if I step to equal eye alignment, I have a lot more targets on his body, but I have to attack through his dagger. This is okay if he's not great with his dagger, okay? But if I go to left eye alignment because I'm like, hey, I have more targets on his body and he has less of mine because I've moved out the way, but his dagger is his best parry, now I'm not going to have a great time in left eye alignment, right? Right eye alignment, we don't have as many targets on the body, okay? And then equal eye alignment, we have a lot of targets on the body, but it can be a chaotic zone. Does that make sense? Okay, so the eye alignment really changes depending on if we're parrying, we're gaining the weapon, and all of these different things. We just end up a lot of times wanting to use the eye alignment that's more advantageous to us. Sometimes our opponent doesn't have a worse parry, so there's not really an eye alignment to exploit, so we might just keep the eye alignment of our best parry. Like if this is my best parry, then I might just keep left eye alignment, so he's constantly attacking into my best parry. Okay, so let's cover why it's bad to only use one guard, which most people do in their fighting styles. Okay, so some people, they only keep one static guard, like they might always be here, or they might like always be here. Okay, so we're going to use this one as the example because it's one of the easier ones to exploit. Okay, so people that stay in that low guard and always want to use that cross parry or this specific parry, this ends up being easier to counter with eye alignment because if we're right eye aligned, okay, and even if they're a low guard fencer that tends to parry with their sword, now their sword has to travel an angled path to stop our sword or to take it. And their dagger has to travel across their body to stop our sword and take it. Which now this is a long angled path, this is a long angled path, and it's being pushed across the body. So if someone only uses one guard, then you can just find a position that negates that one guard they use by making it travel the most time. For example, say it's longsword, and someone is fighting up here with their left foot forward. So you go ahead and do that, you'll be left foot forward up here, right? Okay, left foot forward. okay, which a lot of people do. They start like that, okay? Now what happens is if I'm equal eye alignment, might get chopped, right? If I'm right eye alignment, might get chopped pretty quick. If I'm left eye alignment, his cut has to travel this huge arc, okay? So if I am simply also doing long sword, and I have left eye alignment, my sword on my left side and my tip pointed towards him, he has to travel all the way through my sword, and I just have a straight path to his face. Also, since he has that left foot forward, now his left side is also closer to my point, which his sword has the farthest distance to travel to try and stop my attack that has a completely straight line. So if he's in that guard, I have a fast straight line, especially because his left foot is forward, and his sword has to travel all the way across his body to stop it. Okay? So not just guards can counter other guards, but the position you're in helps your guard counter another guard. This is why you do not want to just have one static guard where you're always just in the same place. This is why it's so much easier to counter these people that don't adaptively cover the line. So something else to mention about right eye versus equal eye is your stance does matter, whether you're bladed and squared and stuff. The reason is, and one of the reasons why we have this parry with the closest prepared weapon, is because if you feint high, and I do the proper parry in right eye, and then you go to the leg, my dagger has a harder time getting to this leg, especially if I'm bladed. So if I'm bladed, and you feint high, and I go to parry with my sword high, and then you go low, this is a hard parry to get. If I'm right eye alignment and you feint high, and I parry with my dagger, I can get my sword there to cover my whole leg. So there are some tricky variables in there that do matter sometimes. Now, like if I'm squared up and I'm low and you feint high, and I go with the sword and then you go low, now I can take my dagger down across my leg. Which also gets us into sometimes the eye alignment you're in will also impact your stance. So when I am in a right eye alignment, I don't like to be in a bladed stance because my dagger cannot get across my body as easy and it cannot cover my leg as easy. So sometimes, especially if someone has not as good sword work as you, but better dagger work than you, and you keep that right eye alignment, then you can hit them and they happen to parry mostly with their sword, then you can feint that sword up because you know they're going to parry with their sword and go for the leg, and then they're going to have a harder time getting that parry. So when I'm right eye alignment, I prefer to be squared so I can keep my dagger over here on the right, and I can cross parry and do fuller lockouts if needed. Okay? And those variables are in all of the different eye alignments. But you'll end up finding them and figuring them out, and we'll also be going over them as well. Now the other thing too is it can make, back up a little bit, it can make your punches a lot stronger. So like what I like to do is when I throw my three or my hook, I like to step into the eye alignment. So say if I'm equal eye alignment, right? And most people, a lot of times when they have you do the hook, they have you just do it like this, like boom, right? And you can get it pretty strong, but I prefer to step to the eye alignment of the punch that I'm throwing, like here, because it makes it so much stronger and faster. Because now my body's making it get there quicker, I'm still getting my hip rotation and my hand, and so you're getting to that point faster. So then when I throw my cross, right, if I'm right eye aligned, when I throw my cross, I step to the side of my eye line. Instead of being right eye aligned, throwing my cross and going here like this, I step to the side of it. So say he holds a 2-3, so it'll be a cross and then a 3. I step here, and then I step here. Okay, so I step into whichever side. It's the same with my attacks. If I have a sword, right, so I'm going, if I want to attack with my sword up here, I'm going to step into it, and then if I'm going back to this side, I'm going to step into it to make it faster as well, because it also helps you avoid their other hand. So another thing to note about eye line, especially with hand-to-hand combat, is a lot of the ways that I think about it is, say I'm like right eye aligned, is if they throw in like their lead hand, I usually block it because you don't have as much time to slip because it's such a close route. But when they throw their backhand, then you can usually end up slipping or rolling or voiding or other things, versus when it's the front hand, you're usually going to like parry or like parry and slip because it gets there so fast, just kind of gives you that surety.